We can't abandon our responsibility to educate the next generation of community leaders and business owners and teachers and professionals in all fields necessary for a sound economy and a good society. When I say I've stood where you stand, I mean that not only because I depended on SUNY for my education, I mean it literally. When I was an undergraduate here at Cortland, I stood on these very same steps in 1978 with 1,000 other students and members of the college community to oppose dramatic cuts in the SUNY budget at that time. Unfortunately, this is a little deja vu for me. This isn't the first time SUNY has been targeted for drastic cuts. In the late 70s and then again in the 80s and early 90s, SUNY was also targeted for serious downsizing through budget cuts. We fought hard during those periods, and our activism made a big difference. The cuts to SUNY would have been far more dramatic in the end without the mobilization of students, employees, and community leaders who represent the importance of SUNY. I can tell you from experience that what you are doing today and your follow-up over the coming months will make a difference. You must now become the educators. You can use your knowledge and experience as students to explain what will happen to you if programs are cut, if faculty and staff lines are lost, if class sizes are increased. You can make your voices heard to let people know just how these changes will impact your education and your future. Legislators really need to hear that from you and your parents. You are caught up in the latest and most severe phase of the continuous decline in support for public higher education in New York State and nationwide. State support for SUNY is at an all-time low. Our state has been on a continuous path of disinvestment in education. In 1990, the state provided 75% of the funding necessary to support institutions. Now we're down to about 45% of SUNY funding provided by the state. Tuition and external fundraising have become much more important in the context of the state's disinvestment in public higher ed. And of course, we're all concerned about tuition increases reducing accessibility for New York State residents who can't afford those increases. And as you know, our campuses are keeping only 20% of the coming year's tuition increase. The rest of that money will not go to SUNY. Let me recount for you, as Jesse just did, the significance of last year's SUNY budget cuts and the cuts we're facing right now and for the coming year. In fiscal year 2008 and 9, SUNY lost $148 million in funding. In the current fiscal year budget, we lost $175 million in funding. The budget cut right now proposed by the governor adds a $90 million cut to this year's budget. And for next year's budget, projections are that SUNY could lose another $100 million to $170 million in budget.
Cool, it's unfair that I have to keep paying out of my pocket for stuff to get cut, so I lose cool classes, I lose fun professors. It's not alright. I don't want to pay more money.
Listen everybody, this is about the $90 million cut they're taking out of SUNY. What do you guys have to say about this?
I'm outraged!
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 I rely on federal student aid and...
Yeah!
And this budget cut will affect me in my future. I'm outraged. I think it's great that we're having a protest. We're the future.
We are the future, right?
Investing money in us, not taking it away.
How do you guys feel?
Well, I think the whole thing's pretty ridiculous to start off with. I don't know when the governor gets off trying to get rid of state debt by giving the future more debt.
Patterson, do you hear this?
Lame, Patterson.
Lame, Patterson. Lame. People signing letters to send to.
We're signing letters, representing, we're doing work.
I feel outraged.
Outrage.
I feel like this isn't fair. There are so many other ways that we can get money. I think we're students, we're here for an education, and this society should value education above all things.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're taking that away from us and using our money in other places is horrifying, and I hate it.
I feel like in a society where access is already a huge problem, and we have large populations of people unable to find jobs and unable to support their families, that it is absolutely ridiculous to hand the same plight and the same destiny to our next generation. It's ridiculous.
Well, we're sick of students being taken advantage of by men in suits. We don't like it, and we've had enough, so we're fighting back.
Fight back!
Yeah!
Yeah!